Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Good evening, everybody. It's Mel V coming to you live from Conscious Consumer Network headquarters somewhere in the Netherlands. Today is the 24th of March and it is 9 p.m. GMT, I beg your pardon, 7 p.m. GMT, 8 p.m. local time here in the Netherlands, and of course it's 9 p.m. in South Africa, and that is where our guest is coming in from tonight. We are speaking to Jean Kriek live from South Africa, and Jean is of course the Freedom Front Plus youth leader, and we are ever so honored to have him with us. So Jean, say hi to everybody.
Hi everyone, just a correction, I'm the youth leader in the province of Gauteng. I'm not the national youth leader.
Lovely. All right. Okay. Lovely. Well, very humble of you, and this is the one thing that intrigued me about you when I first started having a look at some of the videos that you've been putting out and getting an understanding about the work that you've been doing, and also the brief discourse that we've had. And I thought I really wanted to get a better understanding for people who are outside of South Africa as to what's going on inside, from people who are actively involved and engaged with the situation on the front lines, be they in an activist or political sense. And I just was very inspired by some of the clips that you've been posting. So that is how I've come to know of you. And I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your background and sort of how you came to be on this particular journey communicating this information.
No, thank you very much. I've been a youth leader with the Freedom Front Plus for about 8 years. My journey with them started, well, about 10 years ago. It's been an adventure. I mean, the stuff I've learned specifically from big guys like Peter Mulder and Corné Mulder and Peter Groenewald, Advocate Albert, is the kind of information and stuff that you should always just, once they start talking, just start recording, because it changes your life. Especially, I mean, I was lost like most of the people out there, and just finding out about minority rights, that you still have a say in a majority government, etc. That absolutely changed my life. All the nitty-gritties, how it works, how the proportional electoral systems work. I mean, this is stuff that most South Africans, even our older people, still don't know today. But they go out and vote. My videos, well, I try my best. I try to keep it as punctual as possible, as eerlijk, I don't know the English word, as honest as possible. What you see is what you get. You get a lot of comments from guys, yeah, you're trying to divide us, etc. But at the end of the day, if you can't handle the truth, you know, that's what it's supposed to be like. This is the truth, make up your mind. Don't fall for lies, etc. So I do try make my videos as honest as possible. Thank you. The sound is gone.
This is obviously one of the things that I've really enjoyed about sort of connecting with you. Right there, your extreme humility and good old-fashioned Afrikaner manners, which I absolutely adore. So I just want to know a little bit about your personal background, sort of where you've come from, and as I say, how you've come to be on this particular journey.
All right. Well, I went to school in Natal, in Pangeni High School. My family is well into law enforcement, etc. My stepfather, for instance, was in the special task force for the police. My father was in the military. It was a big dream of mine to go into law enforcement, and I got to the stage where I actually went to the police college for my 6 months training. This was at the age of 20. Well, I went there. That was my first taste of what we call in South Africa affirmative action. Basically, we went in, we were 2 white kids with 160 black kids. We were separated from each other, of course. I was in Peloton 99 and he was in Peloton 20. However, we did find it enjoyable every now and then to walk next to each other, see each other, give each other a look. At one point, we actually could go to the tuck shop and buy stuff together, but most of the time they kept us apart. There was not even one white female in the police college. Went on, lots of running, lots of studying, lots of shooting. It kills your knees absolutely in the college, but it was fun. I was living my dream. And at some point I started becoming sick. About 3 months into the training, I went to the police hospital and I was there for up to 2 weeks. During that time, you'd have captains and sergeants coming in to check on you, and it's the entire time, the only words I really can remember out of their mouths was "Umlungu, are you coming? Umlungu." Now, Umlungu means white, wit skein van die see. It's basically a derogatory term towards whites. But anyway, so I went back. I was unsick. I was not sick anymore, and I went for my training further. It was about 2 weeks, and I was back in the hospital. Same stomach cramps, lots of pain. Was white, pale. And yeah, I went back. My mother actually came and fetched me out of the college, took me to a private doctor, and the private doctor said, "Listen, this child is full of Ratex, which is it's a drug that they use to, not a drug, it's a chemical they use to kill rats in South Africa." So then I realized, but all right, my 2-liter water bottles, because we run a lot, I have 2-liter water bottles to put in the window during the winter, and it gets nice and cold. That thing has been continually spiked by the people in my peloton with Ratex. So I finished. I dropped out. I had no choice. I was unhealthy. I couldn't continue. If I continued there, the doctor said I would have died. So that was one of my first interjections with affirmative action. There's nothing affirmative about it. It's actually, it should be called race-based action. Point. After that, I went to Bloemfontein. I worked there for about 3 years. I came back to work on the farm in Pretoria, near Madibeng in Brits. We have a farm which, well, we produce citrus, lemons, narkies, etc. After that, I was offered a job at the Freedom Front Plus, and I started working there. I mean, it's been 8 years. It's been an absolute adventure to the point now. It's been also absolutely frustrating. I was honored enough to be elected to be one of the only youth parliament members. Up until today, I'm still the only white guy in there. The Democratic Alliance has 16 seats. I've never seen even one of them in there, which is amazing. But yeah, that's basically my story up to now.
Wow. Okay. So obviously you're in a position, one of the very Afrikaner white farmers in South Africa, and you're watching what's happening to a lot of people around you. Do you want to talk about the situation on the ground?
Yeah, no, why not? Specifically about the farmers, right?
I think, yes, let's take it from the farmers. It can go into many different directions thereafter, but really let's bring awareness to the farmers.
All right. Well, at the moment, land reform is a massive problem in Southern Africa. Once again, it's called land reform. It's not a nice word at all. It should be called land grabbing, like in Zimbabwe. What's happening around it is in 1994, we had 62,000 commercial farmers in the country. That number has now come down to 20, I think it's 23 or 24,000 commercial farmers, still having to look after 52 million South Africans, which is a massive problem at the end of the day. I mean, we have had one massive drought in South Africa. It's been plastered all over the news. The problem with it is that there's not going to be any food. I mean, when small, normal, what are they called? Cosmopolitan type newspapers like Huisgenoot starts telling people, listen, you've got to start buying Blikkies food to store for the winter, and say, we're going to be in trouble. I think we're actually importing more than 1 billion metric tons of grain via the Richards Bay Harbour now, which we're still wondering, can we handle the capacity? But it's going to happen either way. The farmers are actually, well, they're continually subjected to racial slurs by the government. It would seem every time that President Zuma is caught out, either with the Guptas or stealing money from Kanla, which is his homestead in KwaZulu-Natal. His only deterrent against people actually continuing looking at his problems is to say, it's the whites. Jan van Riebeck's fault. He came in 1652. He never, if we never came, then there wouldn't be any troubles. One minister saying, well, the drought is also the white people's fault because they built the dams too big, it takes too long to fall. Then you have a premier down in KwaZulu-Natal from the ANC. It says there's going to be a task team assembled to look at lightning, for heaven's sake, because lightning hits more black people than it hits white people. So lightning is racist. This is true. Go Google it. You have Cyril Ramaphosa, our deputy president today, saying whites must be exterminated from the economy completely. It should be totally black. Our president, when he's in a short, well, the song they sing is "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer." And our Boer is farmer. It's a distinctive group in South Africa. I am a Boer. I was born an Afrikaner Boer. We have an extremely rich heritage, which I absolutely love. I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be a Christian. At the end of the day, we are, because of this violent talk towards us, we are being exterminated. There's no other word for it, disproportionately. At the moment, we're looking at 135 per 100,000, which is the farmer tax and farm matters. Our police sector is only killed at a rate of 52 per 100,000, meaning basically it's 3 times more dangerous to be a farmer in Southern Africa than a law enforcement officer, which actually goes up to look for these guys. Which is crazy. Most of the people are leaving. 1 million of us have left overseas. They live in Canada, in Holland, in Australia, in New Zealand. More than 400,000 of us live in what we call white squatter camps, which is basically, it's like the refugee camps you have in at the moment with the Muslims, but it's filled up with us now. Please remember that here in South Africa, it's always about, they say it's black and white, but at the end of the day, there's more to it than that. It's not just black and white, it's majorities versus minorities. The problem we have is that currently we are 4 million, the Boer people, and the total black population is up to 52 million. So to say that we're going to interject, and affirmative action basically takes away from us and gives to them. Which is very amazing, because in the rest of the world, I think that's how they fool the rest of the world. In the rest of the world, affirmative action is used to empower a minority where a majority government is in place. But in South Africa, it's used to empower the majority, which is in power, which always have got all the money, all the taxes, they can build what they want, but still they have to be empowered next to a small 4 million minority, which is losing everything they have rapidly. The new Land Claim Act has been signed by President Zuma, which basically says that the state can take custodianship of your farmland. That's not good news. I just said it was 24,000 commercial farmers left, feeding 52 million people. It's an unsure market at the moment. Overseas investors are leaving the country at a rapid pace. Even the rich guys that still has, they're leaving. There isn't a week that guys aren't leaving. We'll get to youth unemployment between us. That's even worse. But the worst part is obviously the killings. We've been trying for a long time as Freedom Front Plus to get it prioritized as a priority crime in the country. The government plainly they say it's crime. It's just crime. But please, for your viewers, just remember that when a majority of 52 million, let's make a, sorry if my maths isn't right now, but let's say 3% of every grouping in the country has a 2% crime rate amongst them. So on 52 million, you're looking at about, let's say 7%. On 52 million, you'll have about 1.2 million criminals out of 52 million, all right? Out of the 4 million whites, you'll have 60,000 criminals. All right, but also remember now that the song's being sing, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, one bullet, one settler. Apparently we are settlers here. We've been here for generations, but apparently I'm white, I'm a settler. With all that hate speech going on, to say that we're being killed at a disproportionate rate, I mean, if my entire race was 3 guys and you kill 1, you've just killed one third of my entire population. Understand? That's what I'm getting to when I say we are a minority. It's easy to hurt us. It's easy to destroy us, wipe us up off the face of the planet. So yeah, it's horrifying, especially the way we are being killed. I mean, there was a I think she's 14 years old little girl that was killed last week because there was something wrong with the remuneration for work being done. Ati Potgieter's little daughter, she was 4. She was killed and left in a box to bleed out. Old people, especially old people. I've dedicated an entire year of my life to right from 1994 up to 2014. All the farm murders that I could find. I went through dockets and dockets to get out the information, and I tweeted every single one. It's available on my Twitter account, Jean Kriek. I physically had to take one massive vacation. My father actually told me, listen, what's wrong with you? You're so down. And I told him, you know what, this stuff breaks me. For me to give you plain numbers and information, I have to go through killed with an iron, a strike iron. I mean, she was burned to death. One child was drowned after they put a shower head down his throat, and then they killed him by putting on the hot water. Toes being cut off, people hung by metal cords down from the ceilings, held for up to a month. There was a couple that was held and tortured for up to a month, and then they killed them all. Nightly, daily rapes. But no, it's just crime. The government says it's just crime. There's no way we're going to prioritize this, because prioritizing it gives our voice legitimacy. They had a big problem last year. They couldn't stop us. Last year in November, we went to The Hague, where you are, and we spoke to the United Nations Minority Forum, where we gave our speech. The South African government actually tried to interject immediately, but thank goodness, for once, a big guy, America, actually stepped in and said that, listen, we want to hear this. This is nonsense that the South African government is speaking, and we want to hear what's going on. And we finished the speech, and it was an extremely positive reaction internationally as well. But now, basically, they want to implement what they call a blacklist. The blacklist involves basically racists. In South Africa, if you Google it, you'll see there's a couple of ministers that actually said that only whites can be racist. Basically, it means we will be barred from entering the international community to speak. Now that's a direct, I can tell you it's a direct result, because we went to the Hague and we spoke to the UN about our problems regarding farmers. So they want to ban us on a blacklist. We're not allowed to fly out of the country, anything like that. Which is, you know what, that's a short hop and a skip away from putting 3 orange stars because I'm Jewish. You know, it's Hitler type of moves, which is sad. It's actually horrifying. It's horrifying. To think that, well, I've got a beautiful lady in my life, and even we talk about it. We're not going to have kids in this country. We can't allow them to grow up with this country. It'll be inhumane, absolutely. They'd be having problems for the rest of their lives.
Yes, you know, this is unfortunately the thing, is that we are less than a generation away from losing our cultural heritage. You know, I very much feel that myself. I've been living outside of South Africa, and I left because it's gotten so bad. And I was born an Afrikaner, Boer blood, and I seem to have really, because of the way I was indoctrinated out of speaking my native language, lost touch with my Afrikaans language. I can understand it, I can speak it, but I'm more fluent in English now, and I'm almost ashamed of that. And I look at how that has happened because obviously I've traveled abroad to London and I've worked in media there. And then, of course, I moved internationally quite a lot, English being an international language. I've just kind of really, it's become my first language. And in a way, I feel very ashamed of that because I wish I was still more connected to my Boer Afrikaner roots. But what it's also made me realize is how easy it is for us to be indoctrinated and just for one generation of our kids to lose complete touch with what you said, that rich culture. And I know what you mean by that. I grew up in that rich culture of Afrikaans heritage that we have. Yes, generations, not settlers, generations of people who have worked the land, who have fought for the freedom of our people in various wars, who have been eliminated through genocidal actions for not just the last 25 years since the African National Congress government came into power, but actually since the turn of the century in the Boer Wars. And it's all part of a globalization agenda, and it's been playing out for a very long time, and it's still happening. And the sad thing is, as you say, the Boers, the Afrikaners, very Christian people, they're the ones who are unfortunately being targeted. And there's many reasons. I've covered this extensively in the research that I've done with my book, The South African Guide to the Global Conspiracy. Please, guys, download yourself a free ebook copy and have a look at all the evidence that I presented as to where the ultimate power lies and why this is being done to our people. Why they're being killed off. What is this really all about? Because there's so much influence from outside the borders of South Africa. And our governments are actually largely working in a way that is destructive to the populations of South Africa, but it's also in a way destructive for the purposes of pure profit. People are suffering for the purposes of profit. And this is what's very disturbing to me. When we start to look at how the corporatocracy are absolutely destroying our country, how the money interests are put above the lives of people, be they black or white, it doesn't matter, and how our freedoms are slowly being eroded, and how we've been played against each other, really, black against white, which I thought we'd moved past all that with the Rainbow Nation. I thought we'd all spiritually evolved, and by that time, it just doesn't seem to have gone that way. It seems that we're constantly being put artificially at odds with each other through all this artificially manipulated conflict and, economic hardship, which I think is largely manipulated as well, because there's abundance. There's so much to go around, but the management of the resources is just so corrupt.
Yeah. No, you just spoke about our language. At the moment, we have just the attack on us, on our culture at the moment is extreme. Sorry, these white lights are killing my left eye. Me and Advocate Alberts went last year and we opened a criminal case against the EFF's Julius Malema and his top 5 guys regarding the destruction of our cultural monuments in the country. I mean, they went out, they painted on them, they burned them, they kicked them off their pedestals. They even kicked off a war horse memorial for all the horses that died, saying it's a colonial thing. They destroyed Mahatma Gandhi's statue in Johannesburg because it apparently has something to do with, these guys have no idea what they're on about, especially Paul Kruger. I mean, we had to go clean up Paul Kruger at least 3 times in Pretoria, in Church Square. That's President Paul Kruger, who also he has big ties in Holland. So basically, we went, we cleaned it. They break it down again, which is strange to me. Paul Kruger was one of the first people in Africa to actually bring forward black consciousness. He sent out a delegation towards the old, which is now Zimbabwe, the old Rhodesia. Before it was Rhodesia. To the king there, saying, listen, but don't give your country 2 roads, keep it for your children. And he went and he gave it to Cecil Rhodes. Now, Cecil Rhodes was, the statue was destroyed at the University of Cape Town, which to me is absolutely mind-boggling. Personally, I should also have a problem, not have a problem. I should say, listen, you should leave, because John Cecil Rhodes was no friend of my people. He killed 2/3 of our people in the Anglo-Boer War. with concentration camps. Not a lot of people know this, but Germany didn't start any concentration camp. It was a British idea which was brought in by John Rhodes. And they killed 2/3 of our entire population. Today, we could have been 8 million plus in this country, where we are only 4 million. So quite frankly, I should have no problem with Cecil Rhodes being pulled down, but I do, because Cecil Rhodes is still a part of my heritage. Without a Cecil Rhodes there, I can never tell my children that, well, this is how, firstly, he killed a lot of our people. Secondly, he brought in a justice system into the country, which is very Western. I mean, there's always, I always try and bring balance to a thing. Yes, he killed a lot of our people. He's dead today. But also, he brought us law. He brought us, in fact, we brought in Dutch law. He brought in English law. And we have a great law. We had a great law system in this country, which is absolutely full to the max at the moment in the country. I mean, if you open a case at the moment, we're still waiting for this Malema case to actually start in court. So it's been up to a year now. But back to our language problem. I mean, these guys are ranting and raving, and I do believe it's because it's an election that's coming up now. It's a municipal election, which is not on a national platform, but still, for some reason, the rhetoric that Afrikaners are the devil, and I mean, I've been on BBC about 1 month ago, which I was absolutely ambushed. I was one guy against 4 prominent liberal South African newspaper guys, and they absolutely hammered me. It was a thing about, well, everything I said was, you're a systemic white racist, you can't help it, you should check your white privilege. And I was like, what are these guys on about? I mean, apparently my white privilege decided not to deposit my monthly wages this month, because this is it's amazing. Apparently I'm born that way. When I was born white, I was a white supremacist, and all that absolute nonsense. And they fail to see their own systemic racism in that by thinking that way. I mean, they quote Muhammad Khalil, who was a renowned black racist: kill the whites, kill their babies, and if they're dead, dig them up and kill them again. That's the guy, the Pan-African Congress, the economic freedom fighters. The ANC kind of stays out of it but now that the EFF is getting headway with this whole thing, now the ANC interjects with the same kind of rhetoric. No, we've actually got a whole week coming up now in South Africa, which they decided this is a good idea for racism. Unite against racism, hashtag. I don't see racists. I see people struggling. I see a lot of people struggling in this country, black and white. The black people especially, they accept this rhetoric as absolute truth. But they don't realize, even if you take all 4 million white people stuff and you give to the 52 million black people, you're still not going to have anything left. This is straight up. I don't know if you guys ever read the book Animal Farm by George Orwell, right? Straight up, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. That's the basic idea around it. So yeah, they can take everything. And I mean, the problem is, since the 1994, the African National Congress, the leading government, has not created any new wealth. They've taken from one group and given to another. They take away from this CEO, white CEO, who did one job, and they split it up into 4 jobs. And they're not communicating with each other. So now we have blackouts in the country, rolling blackouts. And then we want to start with nuclear builds. I can only imagine the trouble we're going to have in this country if something goes wrong with a nuclear build, which it most probably will. But mostly, you know, even though these things are extremely horrifying, my people have a very weird sense of humor. If we can't joke about it within a week, then it's how we deal with it. But it's horrifying. Even though we laugh about it, it's absolutely horrifying because we know we can't do anything about it. Mostly the international community doesn't interject. Afrikaans specifically, sorry, back to the language, we're being absolutely chased off every campus in the country. I mean, we had, I think it was 23 universities in the country, of which 5 was prominent first language Afrikaans universities. Now, so Afrikaans isn't a simple language. Afrikaans is it's mostly comes out of Holland and the Dutch. It's a scientific language. We've developed it to a stage that we can compete with any other group in the world scientifically. We also build nuclear weapons, which the Americans said disassemble, etc. We're being chased off campus, the language, etc. I'm going to stop saying etc. And it's absolutely, it's horrifying. At the University of Pretoria, we've actually been downgraded to a supporting language. Thus, there's no more books that's going to come out in Afrikaans, or you're not going to write tests in Afrikaans, which I believe is extremely important. If you know something about anything in your first language, you understand it better, and you can explain it in another language much better. But that's why this entire Rainbow Nation is a fallacy. It preaches about all the different colors in the rainbow, but actually it's about painting the whole thing gray. You know, not even gray, it's painting it black, because there's no place for the white guys in this country. We've been told many a time, even by police ministers, if you don't like it, leave. Which is fantastic. Great stuff. That's exactly what this economy needs. It's exactly the type of message we should send out. Please continue with the blacklist. I'm sure the international community will find it absolutely amazing. Yeah, this is one fun.
I just want to touch on something that's very important for people to understand, and that is the Afrikaners or the Boers have actually been falsely labeled with the racist dogma throughout history, and this goes back historically. It was actually stated that the reason that the Boers went on the Great Trek and left the Cape after the British annexed the Cape was because they were upset with the British decision to abolish slavery. And that is not true. The Great Trek went on the Great Trek to get away from the British control in the Cape. And that's the reason they went looking for new territories. In fact, most of them were poor. They had only a few carts, wagons and stuff. They didn't have money to pay for and own slaves. And they weren't the slave owners. They were very humble, very Christian people. And this is one of the things that's really, through my research into my own cultural heritage, I get very angry with how much racist dogma has been falsely put onto the Boers and the Afrikaners who, you know, my own grandfather lived in peace. He's a blind farmer, and he actually lived in peace with other black farmers on the land that he owned, because they couldn't own land back then, and they all worked together. And it was never a case of, because he was blind, color wasn't obviously a thing for him. But as well, with a lot of our history and stuff, the apartheid era is very misunderstood. It's been labeled as the blight on every white person of South Africa, when actually it wasn't about the repression of blacks and about the segregation of blacks. Really what it was about was the preservation of culture by establishing Bantustan and giving people their own self-governing homelands so that they could preserve the Bantu culture and not be indoctrinated into the white man's language and education. That's really what it was all about, and yet they've spun that to be a racist, derogatory thing. And there is so much misinformation going around in the mainstream media about just how racist the Afrikaner Boers are and how they deserve everything that's been done to them, even the killings and the violence that is done to, as you've even talked about, helpless children. Now, in what world is that okay? You know, that anybody, no matter what color they are, be subjected to that kind of unnecessary, inhumane torture and degradation. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, absolutely not. Let's firstly start at the land issue. There's a very good book that just came out by Werner Weber. Now, Werner Weber went with a lot of professors in the country, and they actually, because the rhetoric that we stole the land is used as a stick to hit us every single day, they went and they said, but listen, let's look at this. And they came back with an excellent book, which I can recommend to you. which gives it a perfect outline. We came here in 1652. From there, the British basically annexed us. We started moving. We had lots of treks. We had guys going up to the Transvaal, which we didn't. It was unknown at that time. We had guys going to KwaZulu-Natal's direction. The first, and be totally honest about it, we did. We killed Khoi Kusan people. We did. The Khoi Kusan killed us, and we actually. That's history. You don't just one side of it. It's actual history. But then we went up to the Kuil Rivier. It's near the river that's just by Durban, and that's the first time we met the Xhosas. The first time, and this is almost 100 years after we arrived, 1652, in the country. Now, there, the Xhosas were killing the Khoisan, which we were killing the Khoisan from the other side, and the Zulus, which was behind them in KwaZulu-Natal, was killing the Xhosas. Now, the Xhosa people, they aren't here. They were never in Southern Africa. They have this rhetoric now that, no, but we are the Khoi Kusan people. That's absolute nonsense. They were actually up in Central Africa by the Congo, and the reason they moved south was because of Muslim slavery. They were caught and they were subjected, taken to Arabia, etc., and they moved. As they were being taken, they moved away, and finally they came to a point where they couldn't move anymore, which is obviously the ocean. But funny enough, and even 1652 when we got here, there was no wheel, there was no medicines, there were no antibacterial medicines. The only thing they knew about, which I say is apparently the rhetoric, is that it was beyond our level. When they talk about cities that they built, it's the Zimbabwean ruins, which was apparently a massive city which was prospering. That's why it's in ruins. And I mean, they have guys called Sangomas. Now, Sangomas, it's been separated into two groups. You have traditional healers, which uses plants, etc. But then you have Sangomas. Sangomas would actually cut off, because you're white, plainly, you would cut off your private parts, make muti, cut off fingers, take out organs once you're dead. I know was a big story now where dead people's organs are harvested for these mutis, which apparently you take so that bullets bounce off you. Now, this happened at Marikana. I don't know if you ever heard about Marikana on your side, where all those miners were killed. These guys were taking this muti that police won't be able to, the bullets would bounce off them. And they actually, and this is what you don't hear in the news, they've already killed 2 security guards. They used those security guards' body parts for a muti. Then they burned 2 police officers in their police van to death. So by the time that shot was fired by the miners, you can see it plainly, and the Al Jazeera team got the best look at it. You can actually see the firearm going off from the crowd, moving towards the police. And the police, you know what, 2 of them, you don't never mess with the blue bloods. If it's still a family at the end of the day. If you kill 2 of them, you're going to have trouble. And they opened fire and they killed these 37 miners. Which to me is, those guys, it was a war formation. If you know African tradition, they were moving in a war formation. They wanted to harm these police officers. Which is, it's absolute nonsense. Now the rhetoric is being played over and over in the country and beyond, that somehow these police officers were to blame for just protecting their own lives. The EFF has adopted this as their own little credo every single time. What about the miners at Marikana? The government killed them, etc. No, I don't have any time for the African National Congress government. But on this point, there was nothing wrong with it. These guys went in, they tried to kill police officers, and they got what they deserved. Most probably I'm going to get, sorry?
I just want to interject there and say I absolutely agree with you, because the Marikana massacre is actually very similar to what happened at Sharpeville, where you had 10,000 armed natives who had been intimidated into being in that place to demonstrate on that day, okay? And they had been told what to do by harassment by the PAC, to go to that police station in Sharpeville and to hand in their passes and say, please arrest me, I'm not carrying my pass. It was a planned protest that got violent, and a handful of police officers against a mob of 10,000 people. It was self-defense, and yet, like the Marikana massacre, Sharpeville has been used again, to say, oh, well, you massacred a bunch of black people, and a lot of them were shot whilst in the back running away. But hang on, if you actually look at the archives and see all the weapons that were confiscated from the crowd, they went there for conflict. You don't take weapons to a gathering, a peaceful gathering, as they play it out in the media. Oh, it's a peaceful gathering and there were peaceful protesters. That's absolute rubbish. I've seen the archive photos of the weapons that were collected, were confiscated from them. So it's the same thing with the Marikana massacre, and they use this and they spin it in the media for their political means, to make the party that they want to look bad, irrespective of who's really to blame and what really happened behind the scenes.
Yes. Well, I was, in 1994, I was 9 years old. I had no idea what was happening around me, anything. I had no part in apartheid. Specifically that Sharpeville incident, which what I know, which I later found out from Dr. Peter Mulder, who is he's the who's who in the zoo here in Southern Africa. He's the big guy for Afrikaner politics, and his knowledge is it's beyond anything I'll probably ever be. But what was amazing, he told me the story that at the specific Sharpeville, that the whole protest started because of shebeens in the township, and their parents are spending too much time in the shebeens. Then it became an Afrikaans thing. It's Afrikaans at school suddenly, within a couple of hours. Now, the police went there geared. The reason for it isn't. Not a lot. No one talks about this. No one cares about this. A white missionary who worked in that same township a tire was put over him even before this started, and he was set alight and killed. A white missionary. And then the police said, listen, these guys, we don't know what's going on, but we're going now. We're moving in. And you can plainly look at the footages. There's been lots of footage shot about that specific event. There were pangas in there, which is a long type of, you can say sword, but it's used to cut plants, etc. Which someone would tell them it's used for cutting plants. And screwdrivers, stuff like that. And there's a couple of weapons in between there as well, firearms. So no one talks about this white missionary who went out preaching the word of God, and at the end of the day, he was set alight and killed. Everyone goes on about Stompie, not Stompie, the kid that was shot being carried in the arms, but no one talks about the white missionary who died before that. Now, off of that point now, we have what we call in the country freeborns. So freeborns was born in 1994. Today, these kids are 23 years old. These kids, they experience extreme racism when it comes to looking for job, the economy, etc. Now, what I mean by that is, back in the day, before we even had brains to think about this, we were playing Lego, saying Dada, Mama. There was boards on the beach saying this is a whites area only, no blacks allowed, etc. Today, you'll find that, to an extent, that you go on a newspaper in the classified section looking for jobs, it clearly says this is for a black person, a black woman. No whites need apply. You know, it's exactly the same thing. And most of us leave. We leave the country. We move out. And as you said, it takes one generation for you not to be a South African anymore, to be a Kiwi, to be a kangaroo in Australia. You know, it's those kids will never know the Springbok. They will never know Table Mountain. They'll never know boerewors and steak and braai. And it's bad. 1 million of us have left. Even more of us are leaving as we speak. I handle at least 12 calls a day, where these kids come to me, and I mean, I'm older than them. I'm about 30 now, and they're younger than me, and they ask me questions like, what are we doing? Where are we going? Is there jobs in Urania? And the only advice I can give them is leave the country as quickly as you can, because it's not going to get better. It's not. It's going to get worse. The absolute racial hate we experience every single day is mind-boggling. My best friend in my life, my girlfriend, her own brother was killed in Vryheid, and it was I can tell you, it was racial, and the police up to this day, it's been 3 years, has not done an absolute thing to even help We've got video footage of white guys going into police offices with the black police officer sit back. I'm not taking your statement, sir, because I don't have to. But when it's a black guy opening something up, you're going to get prosecuted up to the highest point. One video we got out of Pretoria of two guys, white guys having fun in Pretoria. Two black police officers pulled them off, and they basically, firstly they knocked out the friend. They knocked him out, and as the other friend was recording this, and then they proceeded to enter him through the back with their hands, looking for drugs. These kids had there was no suspicion, nothing like that. What they basically did was rape him. They raped him. This is the country we live in currently. We live behind bars and fences and walls as thick as a car. And it's still not keeping them out. And it's as I said, it's mind-boggling how this can happen. And I've not known anything else. My parents speak about the apartheid years, and most of the people say it was wrong. Maybe it was wrong, but at the moment I'm looking at it, and you know what? If you want to call me a racist, call me a racist. I don't care anymore. I don't see a future in this country. We are constantly being humiliated because we are white, being subjected to hate speech. And I mean, in a month's time, I get 5-6 death threats for the work I'm doing, which is fine. I can handle it. I can. But it's when the guys phone me and say, yes, John, what are we doing? Where are we going? What can we do? I don't know how to answer them. We try and help them as much as possible, but we are 4 million. As I said, 1 million of us are overseas. 400,000 of us live in white squatter camps. Horrible conditions. I mean, I would challenge anyone to come over and I'll show it to you.
Well, I think that's a good idea. People need to see it for themselves to understand the situation that the white squatter camps are actually all about. You know, it's not unlike the concentration camp system, these new white squatter camps. We are really being forced into, you can call them squatter camps, but they're really concentration camps because the conditions are actually said to be worse than they were. And I've read the Fawcett Commission that was done by Emily Hobhouse, who campaigned for Boer rights in the concentration camps at the turn of the century. And when you actually look at the conditions that they're facing now, it's worse than they were then, all right? And it was very bad then. So it's gone from bad to worse, and it doesn't matter which way you paint, it doesn't matter which way you shift the blame. It's a situation that unfortunately doesn't get enough international attention. There's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of hereditary prejudice. There's a lot of bias towards the situation because of the way the media spins things. And it's very sad that we've actually seen such a beautiful group of people, and they really are. The Boers are so special, and I don't think actually people understand how special they really are and why. And that there's a lot of, you want to call it Afrikaans folklore, mythology about how the Boers have made this covenant with God on the day of the vow and how they are protected and how they've turned their back on evil over and over again by, first escaping Roman Catholic persecution in Europe and then coming to South Africa. Those were the Huguenots, but then again also leaving the British colonialists, who were also a very evil power, money-hungry power, and they instead decided to go on and practice their own form of Christianity and farming and go on the Great Trade, just developed amazing relationship with the earth, with the land, with the people, and through much hardship developed their own unique adaptation to South Africa, which people just don't seem to understand. They're very ignorant towards the rich culture, the huge history, how we've fought for the land, how we fought for the freedom of our people against the colonialists. And in fact, the same powers that we fought against in the Boer Wars are now through the African National Congress, who are absolutely controlled by those same powers. At least if you follow the money, that is the case. It's always about the money line. You look at, where it's all going. And you've got the same people still controlling all the events today through their various communist type governments, which is what the ANC actually are. And it's very sad to see such an amazing, rich cultural heritage of beautiful people being so utterly destroyed. And I make the mistake. Well, I don't know if it's a mistake. I often feel very, very sad for having left South Africa in 1999 and abandoned my people. But I think I wouldn't have been able to do all the work that I've done had I stayed there and possibly still be here to tell the tale. However, that being said, I always say to people, look, the grass ain't greener on the other side. Europe has its problems too, and it's getting worse here. Okay, it is getting worse here. But what do? Do you stay, dig your heels in, fight for your country, fight for your rights, fight for the land that doesn't want you, that doesn't, that's not going to protect you? What do you do that? Or do you, go abroad and try and start a better life somewhere else? Because even that's a huge gamble. There's no guarantees. If you think about it, that's what refugees do. That's what the refugees are doing, leaving the economically torn homelands through war or whatever, and South Africa is also in a war state, going to other countries in the hopes that they can get something better and ending up in refugee camps, okay, which is just absolutely disgusting. And it's not much better no matter which situation you look at, but what other options do we have? And I'm sure you get people coming to you with this every single day. What do you tell them?
Yeah. Well, since the advent of democracy here, 1994, I can tell you more than 600,000 South Africans has been killed. Now, this is white and black. I believe more white than black. Which once again is a problem. There's not a lot that you can tell them. You can tell them to, if you can get out, get out. What we propose specifically as a Freedom Front, and I absolutely love my party, the old guys, they have brains, and they look at the problem and they don't move from a table until the problem is absolutely solved. At the moment, you can sell your farmland here, and you can buy farmland for 3 times the size for the same amount of money in the Northern Cape. We've built up a town called Orania, which we have bought completely. Now, Orania was 300 people maybe 4 years ago. Today, there's more than 2,000 people living in Orania. So people are moving. But unfortunately, the people that are going there had to become, most of them, the majority of them, had to become a statistic first. Daughter was killed or something like that, and then they decide, I'm done with this country, I'm leaving. And the closest thing they can get to is moving to Orania. And as Orania grows, they buy up more farms, they buy up the country. Now, it's one of the problems we have with this Land Reform Act. Basically, the country can come in and say, no, but we're taking back this land we're taking it in as a custodianship, and very hard actually. Yeah, it's actually, my mind is running around.
Let me ask you, Jean, then. Okay, so Orania, I have been looking into it, and I'm very intrigued by the education policy they have there too, which is very much a new paradigm education policy, where these kids are actually self-directed learners and learn at their own pace instead of following a government school curriculum. And some of the education of the kids that's coming out of there has really caught my attention, and the attention of some of the people who actually broadcast on this network, who are very much on the cutting edge of the education scene in terms of, let's not teach them the old indoctrination and lies, but let's focus on real holistic solutions that can bring kids to the next level of human evolution. And I was very, very impressed with that. That is the stance they're taking there, which is very forward-thinking. So for me, it starts at the child level. But now what happens, okay, for example, a whole bunch of farmers move to Orania and we get a lovely community going, because I've often wanted to, I have lots thought about going back to visit there and seeing what it's really all about, maybe doing a documentary for international people to see this. But what happens, say, for example, now the government decides they want to come and take this bit away because it's the last remaining stronghold of the Afrikaner and the Boer. And they come, they're surrounded with armies or whatever. Are you guys going to actually stand and defend this land? Like with guns and whatever else? I mean, what the last stand of the Boers, how's it actually going to play out, do you reckon?
Number one, it's not a, that's the thing, it's a cultural heritage town. It's not, they keep saying it's a segregated town, etc. You can be a black guy, you can drive through there for the day, go to the restaurants, etc. But they have exactly the same. They have Shaka's Kraal, which is down in KwaZulu-Natal. I'm not welcome to go and build a house in Shaka's Kraal. That is a cultural place. They will chase me out of there with spears and whips. Just like that, we also have most of our monuments that are being destroyed are actually being taken to Ranya. We're moving it to Ranya to be put out there, and we want to build a farm murder memorial there, which we are currently talking to the people in Ranya with, all the farm murders. It's a base. It's a place where you can be you. You can have your children play. I was there for 2 weddings. Children still playing around at night, 9 o'clock at night, with their bicycles, etc. If you go and run around there in the morning just to shake off a bit of the fat, it's not going to help you, because every second guy stops you and says, "Coffee? No, thank you." Everyone offers you coffee, but no one offers you a bathroom in that place, which I absolutely love. The people are real. They've got a Cook Sister monument, which is brilliant. Any European, please try Cook Sisters. You'll absolutely love it. It's a bit sweet, but you'll love it. It's a place where we can protect what we protect. So it's not a segregated town. The idea around it is, back in 1994, the Freedom Front Plus, went to CODESA and we said, we want to interject a new article 235, into the Constitution of South Africa, which gives us the right to self-determination if we are a majority in a country. Now, what we're trying, we basically, from our 4 million population, we need 30% to physically move their bodies to the Northern Cape province, businesses, etc. And we'll be the majority in the province. And we can immediately tell the government.
And we're back on air. Thank you. You know what, as I was saying before we were cut off, it's actually, internet in South Africa can be very unstable. I'm surprised you stayed with us for this long. So thank you very much for that. You were talking about Ranya.
Yeah, Ranya is brilliant. I love that town. I love it absolutely. If I can choose any destination to go on vacation, it's Ranya. Yeah. No, it's what we need. I was specifically talking about the Constitution and Article 235. So basically, if we are the majority in the province, we can ask for a referendum stating that we want to be a part. Now, that's also one of our biggest fights we have is actually with our own people, unfortunately. They believe that 4 million people need this entire country. If you look at New York, for instance, New York has 20 million people living in a city. We've bitten off, well, this is what the youth also, we've bitten off a piece of land which is a bit too big for us. And we need to start looking at what can we save, because we're not going to be saved. So basically, the idea is to go in. We've got different organizations going, like for instance, in Hopetown, there are Afrikaner organizations buying up land. We're trying our absolute best for worst case scenarios. With all the war talk from the ANC side, etc., I don't think we might not have a lot of time, but at the end of the day, it's also, just remember, it could be just rhetoric, because it is election time again. And I can promise you this, if nothing happens and the election is passed, then there's not going to be a racist word coming out of this government for the next 3 years, until the next election. Because they don't want us to leave, they want our taxes. We are probably the only group still in the country paying for their lavish lifestyles. In Kandla, in the nuclear builds, presidents flying and deputy presidents flying around in Gupta's jet, which is a prominent family from India, apparently. They've been around. We've figured out now that they've been here with Mandela, President Mbeki, they've been here with Zuma. They've basically hijacked our entire government for cash. They actually appoint ministers, which is quite amazing. I've never heard of anything like this. And just to, like I said, just to put stop people looking at it, they start with, like Cyril Ramaphosa today, saying what should be terminated from the economy, and President Zuma saying the problem starts with the whites, we need to stop this racism and nonsense like that. which we're quite sick. I mean, we're sick and tired of it. If there's one group of people who actually try and build this country, it's us. We try our absolute best through the rhetoric, through the nonsense. And believe it or not, black people there are many black people that say, listen, but you are talking nonsense. Since 1994, you've stolen 70 billion rand due to corruption. You know how much 70 billion rand could do for this country? That money, if the average university degree in this country costs 120,000 rand, all right, there could have been 10 million qualified blacks with degrees in this country today, which is of much more worth than any rhetoric that whites are this bad, whites are that, it's whites' fault, the dams are too big, the lightning only hits white, black people. It's not needed. 10 million blacks, 10 million could have had degrees today, taking this country forward. But no, the money, they don't say, no, but you stole the money or anything. I mean, I've told many of them this, and I've showed them the statistics, and their idea around it is, but don't talk that way about my people, my government, my struggle heroes, etc. Your struggle heroes are dead. They belong to the Guptas. The Guptas is in charge of this country. Which is, once again, it's horrifying. We are a minority party in the country. We specialize in minority rights, which isn't just white people. It's the colored people. It's the Indian people. It's the blind, the deaf, the crippled. That's minorities in the country. It's a very wide spectrum. Just the discrimination regarding that little minorities in the country. I mean, you don't see buildings anymore with on ramps for guys with wheelchairs, etc. They don't care about that nonsense. But yeah, it's fun. This country's fun.
Yeah, I'm muted. It's interesting that you mentioned the Guptas because they are actually representative of something that's very symptomatic of the way South Africa is run, and that is from external commercial interests, big business money. It's not just the Guptas. You've got the Oppenheimers as well. All right, what we typically term in our circles of research, and any journalist worthy of the title will tell you that they are the Illuminati bloodline branch managers of South Africa, and they own enough wealth to educate, feed, house, and care for every person in Africa, no one excluded, right? Mm-hmm. They sit on such a huge amount of wealth and continue to funnel huge amounts of it outside of the country. And it's well known as well that Nelson Mandela never made any major decisions without running it past the Oppenheimers and perhaps people like the Guptas. But there is certainly what we call a shadow government element that controls South Africa from behind the scenes. It's all about the money. They care very little about the suffering of the people, and they continue to milk the resources whilst people suffer, go hungry, die of preventable diseases, and fight each other for the very little that is left, when supposedly we have an abundance of resources. If only it wasn't managed by such corrupt interests.
Mm. One thing I can also just bring in here, the generation that has grown up today in this country, specifically the freeborns, they are even more, especially from the black side, they are more, how do I say this? They feel entitled towards apartheid. Apartheid destroyed their lives. They were born after apartheid and they blame us. So you have a situation where people are being offended that weren't born yet to be offended, and we're being discriminated against, but we weren't born, to have a part in that, which is, once again, it's mind-boggling, but it works for them, so fine. But yeah, at the end of the day, we are in big trouble. You can't joke about this. We are in big trouble in this country. We try and interject as much as we possibly can to help every single person we possibly can. There's lots of organizations that do absolutely. The Freedom Front basically is your political party. AfriForum is your civil rights organization, and they do brilliant work. And then, of course, you have Solidarity, which is our civil union, our workers' union. So we do try and survive the country, but then, of course, our AfriForum is called a far-right racist organization in Parliament. We are called this exactly the same thing, because we work on a lot of things. But you know what? At the end of the day, people say we only stand up for Afrikaans and white things, but you know what? It's because only the Afrikaans and white things are being attacked. What else can we do except stand up for it? And I mean, we've brought in great ideas. If you look at in Canada, the French Quarter, in Switzerland, in Holland, you have multiple, for instance, just a street name problem. They have problems with our Afrikaner heroes like General Pretorius, of which Pretoria is named. Today it's called Tshwane. I don't have any idea what that means. Mamacita Street, etc. Now what we said is basically bring in more names, one Afrikaans name, one English name, and one Zulu name, you know, on the same pole. It works overseas in first world countries. Why shouldn't it work here? We've brought in that same idea at the University of Pretoria. We'll see if they want to do that. There's always solutions, but there's so little people actually wanting to sit down and get to those solutions. One of the biggest problems we have is that we stop talking to each other. At the Advent 1994 started, there was no more talking to each other. It's not like, listen, what is your problem? What is your problem? Our leader, Dr. Peter Mulder, had the chance to go and be a deputy minister in the previous Zuma government for agriculture. And I mean, he couldn't just take the job. Our federal council has had to sit and say, listen, okay, we can do more good than there's going to be bad out of this. And he went, he became the Deputy Minister of Agriculture. Now, I can tell you that never in the history of the Agricultural Department has drought problems, water problems, feeding problems, anything been sorted out faster than with Dr. Peter Mulder. I mean, this guy, he's a machine. He's gone grey by now, but he's still going. I mean, most of us thought after the deputy ministership he's going to step down. No, he's just getting started, this man. Which we absolutely love him for it. We, the youth, appreciate these guys. There's no words. I mean, there's no thank you card big enough for what they've done for just protecting what we have at the moment. Which, yeah, it's been taken away, but.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was very interesting and what you said there, to pick on a few points, is it's something that in our circles of research, those who are very solutions orientated, what we've come to realize is that it's not that we don't have solutions for the problem. The problem is getting a group of people to work together on implementing those solutions. That is where the problem lies, is that, you know, it's not that there's a lack of resources. It's just that the management systems to get the resources distributed or to manage them, that is corrupt. And it's a systemic breakdown. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the areas of blame which they portion it to. For example, color, or it's overpopulated, or this or that. There's a lot of various distraction elements they throw at us so that we don't figure out what's really going on, and we keep fighting each other instead of looking at where the real perpetrators are.
Yeah. Well, as I say, the whenever these guys go overseas, the rhetoric, so whites are racist, farm murders are just crime. The crime. You know what? Our crime rate at the moment. It was an interesting article. It was done by an opposition party leader, Deborah Kola Barnard, who is called a racist today. She actually brought out stats which stated that, listen, we are being killed at the rate of war. We in this country, the whites specifically. Our deaths per month is more than the deaths in Afghanistan per month and Iraq per month. That is what is happening in this country. I think that the second country in the world with this crime rate is Brazil. And for us, it's normal. I have a problem with it because my people have become extremely complacent. The newspapers, maybe they'll cover one farm murder out of 5. And when you go through the newspaper, just a farm murder, move past it. Like, it's become normal, absolutely normal. And it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong to think that you are living in a society that's accepting this. Just another farmer. Let's not worry about it. We the Gauteng youth are busy with a project at the moment where we actually buying 2,400 urns, which, you know, for after you're dead, the ashes going to the urns. Now, what we want to do is 2,400 of them. We will probably be asking the public for donations for that. We want to put farming soil inside, and every farmer's name on those urns, and we want to go to the union buildings and put it in front of the union buildings and tell the media to come over and say, listen, look at this. This is a visual picture. This isn't a number. This is a visual picture. And hopefully that'll reach the international community as well. What we also want to do is, it's the two main things as a farm matters. That's number one. And the second one is the racial discrimination. The second thing we want to do is we're going to ask youth in the country to write us letters of their personal experiences, how many times you've been turned down, etc., because you were white. And we're going to make copies of every single letter, and we're going to take every single letter, every duplicate, and we're going to take it to every embassy in Pretoria for every single country, and we're going to give it to them. That's just two big projects we are working on as the youth movement. But I mean, our seniors, they're the guys that are really pressing the buttons, and they're the guys upsetting the ANC, which I love. Going to the Hague, going to the UN, telling them straight in their faces, you know what, I don't give a damn. We're going to be here, we're going to be here, we're going to stay. We want to build this country. We don't want to, you know what, Article 235 for which states that we have the right to self-determination. Mostly us, the youth, we don't even think about that in the moment. Our main problem is work. We need work in this country. We need to just start a pension fund, which is also not safe. Most of our parents today, they've worked their lives through Transnet, SAL, etc. Most of the state pensions today are used as bailouts for the South African SAL, which is our air guys, Telkom, so Transnet pensioners. The Transnet pensioners, man, those guys absolutely built this country, the railways, the buildings, everything. And what the country conveniently didn't do was, with the inflation, adapt their monitor their monthly income. I mean, I've seen people, old people, extremely old, die. They die before. We have a massive claim against Transnet at the moment. It's a trillion rand claim, which it's been going for 3 years now, but it's vice versa. Our lawyers, their lawyers, until we get to court finally. And at the moment, all these Transnet pensioners are dying at a faster rate than we can actually help them, which is it's not acceptable. But what can we do about it? We try our best. If we had more support, it would be even better. I mean, we have old people, 200 old people getting together and walking to the union buildings, but the young guys are a bit more, I don't want to do it. I have a great group of guys in the Gauteng youth, which is, yes, they work extremely hard, and we always work together on what we're going to do, try and create the climate to get the news out internationally. But yeah, it's even pension funds. It's not safe in this country. It's being used. So what options do we have? I mean, whenever a young guy asks me this, I say, don't do pension funds. So they're going to take it. The best thing you can do at the moment is buy property, which would become your pension one day from guys that stay in it, etc. That's probably the safest market at the moment in the country, but that's going to change soon. Zuma has taken away, he says he signed the land reform bill, which also includes housing normal in towns, not just farms. And at the end of the day, he took that away. Now he wants to go, not 1914, he wants to go all the way back to 1800s, which is funny because then they'll have even less. But they're not going to see it that way. So yeah.
Bear with me. I have a cat crawling across the screen here. This is the studio cat who comes to visit us whenever we're doing live broadcasts. Let me pop her down here. You know, one of the things that has really amazed me with this conversation is how there's absolutely no resentment in your discourse towards Black people per se, how you're very fair and balanced in your understanding of what the problems are. And this is, I think, an example to that's very angered and disenfranchised Black youths out there who are, I think, through hereditary prejudice, just insistent on pointing the fingers at white people for their suffering and for the lack of opportunity, because that's what they've been told, that's what they've been trained to do. When I think if they actually just maybe took a moment, even just to do a little bit of research on the internet, or perhaps just use their brain for common sense and logic. You can't blame people for economic circumstances just based on the color of their skin. And even just logic-wise, it does not make sense.
May I interject?
Yes.
It comes down to two things. Ground level, grassroots education, all right? Since 1994, once again, our standard of education has dropped tremendously. I mean, we've brought in a system which moved away from the old curriculum, which the Labour Party in England implemented, and even they said, listen, this thing isn't working, we're throwing it away. And then the South African government went and they bought it for this country. We've had 13 years of that of that specific educational system, which is crazy also. Basically, if you're a 90% student, you're not going to get 90%. The lowest student has 10%. So your 90% helps him get 35% because of averages. It's going to push up his average. But now you get to the problem. It's only been implemented on primary level and secondary high school level. Now, when you get to university level, a white student that wants to go into medical, he wants to be a doctor. At the moment, the quota is 70% black, 30% white. All right. Now, the black students get in on a 55% average, and we get in on an 85 to 90% average. That's the cutoff. So absolute double standards to both ways. I'm not going to let anyone who's got a 55% matric diploma touch me. But regarding any medical practice, it's not going to happen. Now they send these guys to do medical training in Cuba. The Cuban government sends us letters saying that these guys are absolute barbarians. They're never in class. They're always running around. All that. I mean, the government's paying for their education, etc. No, we're going to party in Cuba. The Cuban government wants to send them back. So that's the different standards on that level now. Number two is we're not allowed to spank our children anymore. And I don't mean smack a child until his head opens up against the wall. I mean on the bum. You know, there is not one birthday that my father goes by that I don't tell him, hey Dad, thanks for spanking me, man. I can't imagine how I would have turned out if you did not take an interest in my life. As an individual, me and my four brothers, I can just imagine how we would have been. We would have been entitled. We would have had this attitude of, you know what, this world owes us. I didn't ask to be born, so you know what, give me a house, give me a car, give me my water, give me my electricity. You owe me this. I didn't want to be here. I mean, where's the attitude of, right, this is life. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do what I have to do to get there. Now, this entitlement, and I want to make it absolutely clear, you are entitled to nothing. Nothing in this life. If you want it, you go and get it. And you don't do it by stealing it. You work for it. Because at the end of the day, we're all waiting for one certain judgment. And I can promise you that I'm going to sit there and I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh at every single judgment that comes past. Because even within the white youth today, you have this whole, I know it's very fairy-like, you know, you owe me, I owe you. It's I don't know how to explain it. It boggles my mind how anyone can be so I don't live for myself. I never live for myself. I live for the people around, my family first. My family is the most important thing in my life. And then family success is for me important. I will never have more children than I can afford. I want to make sure that I can give my children a university, a shot at university, etc. You know, I mean, these guys have 12, 13, 14 children, and they get grants from the government for every child. They drop their children at grandma's house, and they go buy a house on the beach, you know, and live out their lives with 12 children's grants. We don't qualify because we're white. Yeah, I mean, just coming back now, sorry, our police, for instance, you can't imagine how many police officers have been implemented in not only the drug trades in South Africa, but on farm matters. Police officers being part of farm matters. These are the guys that's supposed to protect us. They've taken oaths. They don't care about their oaths. They don't give it. They really don't. But not all of them. You know what? There are brilliant police officers out there. I know of one guy who actually got a promotion now. After 12 years, this guy has been giving his best in the police force. Only now, let me add this, after Afriforum went and they started a case with Mevrou Barnard, police captain. The police didn't want to advance her, and Afriforum went, they fought a case for her in the courts, and she got her promotion at the end of it, after 5 years. After 5 years in court. And then suddenly all those white police officers get their promotions, one after the other, which is, I'm absolutely happy for them. They really try their best. So yeah, it's you know what, there's good, there's bad. We just wish the government would be more balanced, you know. It's not our fault. I had my generation, my girlfriend's generation, my brothers, my friends, we had nothing. We don't have anything to do with it. Instead, all we are trying to do basically is make it. We just want to make it.
Everybody has the right to survive. This is it. Is that all lives matter? And you know, there is a real reversal in attitudes with regards to many things that, you know, where perhaps it may have been thought that we were disrespectful to black lives at one stage. It's very much reversed, and where they can be disrespectful to white lives, and it's government sanctioned.
Please, just tell me for 1 second. Please show me just one organization that says black lives do not matter. Show me one.
No.
Where does this come from? Where does this come from? This is a thing that started in America with a black child that was, as far as I know, he tried to kill a police officer. The police officer killed him. All right, now Black Lives Matter. It's been brought into our country. Universities are burning. You know, what happened here is more than 102 million rands worth of damage in our universities, which is crazy. The University of Pretoria has been closed since the beginning of the year. I mean, it's been 3 months without any. Once they open up, the EFF is there, closing them down. TUT, Tswana University of Technology, those guys haven't been open in a year and a half. Which, once again, and then they go around, fees must fall. That was a big one, hashtag. Fees must fall. Go around, they break down the classes, they burn down boom gates. Let's strike over transport, let's burn down 6 buses. There's no sense in it.
There's a lot of it's not, you know, it's not just in South Africa. I'll tell you something else that really bothers me is you get something called the MOBO Music Awards, music of black origin. Okay,
no.
And it's a music awards ceremony for music of black origin, and it can only be won by black artists. However, if you had the equivalent like music of white origin, it would be considered racist. You know, yeah. You cannot have that. Yeah,
we have the Black Business Council in this country. If we had a white business council, we'd be hung from trees. I don't know. There isn't a lot of future in this country left. I don't see it. But we do try. We have to be positive, right? We have to get out there and say, listen, we're going to tackle this thing. I was elected by youth leaders from different sides of Gauteng to be the youth leader in Gauteng. And even though I'm also frustrated and all that, I have to be positive. We have to get in there and we have to get moving. We do try and interject as much as we can and talk to them, even though they do shut us down. No, we don't want to talk to you. Julius Malema specifically and Ndlozi, who is the EFF's spokesman, they're quite frank. They basically tell me, listen, you white rubbish, we're not talking to you, which is fine, man. It's great. I'm not going to stop phoning you because you're trying to break down ticks, you know. I'm going to hammer your number, start blocking me, which is fine. It's fine. We do what we can.
I'm interested to get your opinion on Julius Malema because, of course, he was the ANC Youth League leader first, and then he got kicked out of the ANC. And now he's gone and joined the EFF and is now their leader. for a long time maintained that he's being used or paid from external influences. He's like a bit of an agent provocateur, particularly since he's landed up in two such strong leadership roles. I don't really think that this guy genuinely has the betterment of humanity at heart. I just think he's a radical who enjoys violence, to be honest with you, or creating violence.
Something absolutely interesting, it came across my table this week. Everyone's on about the Guptas paying, the ministers, etc. So what came across my table was a deposit slip from a certain white guy living in, it was Mozambique or something like that, depositing 18 million rand into the EFF's bank account. I can only ask questions. I have no idea. We're going to get, you know what, that's the nice thing. The truth always comes out at the end of the day. We will find out what this is about. Julius Malema, he keeps telling Zuma, pay back the money. He owes SARS millions of rands. He's done fraudulent tenders, etc. His followers don't mind. They don't care that he did that. Instead, they're standing outside the court saying, if you lock him up, we're going to burn down the building. There's no logic in what's happening in this country at the moment. I wish there was logic behind it, but really there's no logic.
Well, let's look at what people can do, okay? Because obviously there's a lot of questions. I get letters every day. How do I get out of here? Now, this is from an international point of view, what we've been trying for a long time to raise awareness about this. And recently we started actually lobbying the European governments to change their policy with regards to South African passports. Because at the moment, a person with a South African passport has a great deal of difficulty getting permanent residency in other countries, European countries, Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia, wherever it is they want to go. They can get a tourist visa. Perhaps if they're lucky, they might get a business visa, might get sponsored, might get student, might even get married. That's what I've still got a South African passport. My husband's Dutch. That's how I've been able to stay. I got married. So there are the options, but again, it's still very difficult. It's only a very small amount of people who are able to effect a solution from a South African passport. So we've been actively campaigning here, writing to various heads of various European governments to say, can we get some kind of lifting on restrictions against South African passports so that people who are refugees of economic hardship and war in South Africa, which there is, South Africa is a war zone.
No, it's absolutely a state of war.
Yeah. Can we get some kind of restrictions lifted so that South African passports are not so... Because, let me tell you, having lived abroad for so long now, I need visas to go everywhere. It's not easy for a South African passport to travel. They make it very difficult for us to do anything at all. Whereas my husband, who's on a European passport, can go just about anywhere. Barely has to get a visa, and he can pretty much live anywhere he wants to, just about, with a European passport. So there is a double standards with regards to the passport situation, and this is one of the things we're trying to make people aware of at a state level and get it alleviated. It's a blockage in the system that is stopping people from being able to leave South Africa, and they're not recognized under refugee status when they do leave. And this is something that has to change.
No, thank you very much for that. Just on a different side, I have a friend in Germany, Tom Tomic, who lives in Kassel. He came and visited us about 2 weeks ago. And I mean, it's the same for him. He immediately, when he got, he said, Jean, those people are racist. They came to the airport. All the black guys apparently just walked through the douane, and he had to, there had to be a picture taken of his face. They had to do searches through his luggage, everything. He was put on a register. The black guys are they've long gone. He was held up at that airport for up to an hour. Then finally he got into his rental car to come to my place now. And just at there's a little stop street at our Tamperfest where you get out the rental car area. And when he went over, a speed officer pulled him over immediately and said, no, you didn't stop at the stop street. Immediately trying to, and he did absolutely, trying to make money out of him, and not small money. When he heard he was German, because they have an accent. So 2,000 rand, sir, please, or else you get a ticket. And Uncle Tom came here. He was here for 2 weeks. He was livid. And I told him, you know what, Uncle Tom, just go back home and tell them, show them We have every bit helps, and thank you for your help from your side. It is really appreciated. Yeah.
This is we're talking a bit about what we can do, and everybody has to be aware of the situation and must, with the information they get, it's got to prick your conscience some way, because it's such a terrible thing that's being done. If you actually look at some of the images, I don't think I've seen that kind of images even coming out of Iraq, even coming out of war-torn zones. The prolific nature of the violence and the torture that my people have been exposed to in South Africa. So for those who want to stick it out and fight for, their land, or the right to stay, or the right to even just exist and live, I can't give them any advice, because I'm, like a puppy, fled with my tails between my legs, and I've managed to reestablish myself here. But I'm still been homesick for the last 18 years. I would love to. I dream every day of moving back to South Africa, and it breaks my heart when I hear people like yourselves saying that you don't see a future there, because I know that I may never be able to do that. I may never know Africa's home again. And that's heartbreaking to me. It kills me. It's really devastating. And I'm one of many people who are refugees who've had to give up their beautiful homeland, family, friends, who've lost family and friends, who've come abroad and had to now make it abroad. And I've never really integrated with the European culture. I am South African. I very innately feel that. I have a very rich cultural heritage, which I'll never really let go of. It's very distinct. It's very clear. It's a very visceral thing for me. But there are obviously those who are still stuck there, who can't get abroad. They don't have the money to get themselves out, or they've got a passport and they're hindered by that, or they've just made the decision that they want to stand and fight for, dig their heels in and fight for what's theirs. Tell us what advice you have for them, and what it is that they can do to help you guys with what it is you're doing with the Freedom Front Plus.
We desperately need people to wake up. Stop being complacent. Stop accepting that this is the norm. This is not normal. This country, what is happening now is not normal. One of the biggest, and I'm going to put it out there, one of the biggest problems we have at the moment is we need people to vote for self-determination. You vote for the Freedom Front Plus, you vote for self-determination. Most of my people are voting for the Democratic Alliance, because the Democratic Alliance has second most votes next to the ANC, which is true, absolutely true. But the Democratic Alliance also, like the ANC, supports black economic empowerment, affirmative action, race-based quotas, etc. Now, my people feel it's all right. I'm going to vote for them. We're going to vote the ANC out, and then we'll sort out the DA. Now, it's been 23 years of black economic empowerment. We are not going to be subjected to a DA rule with another 23 years of black economic empowerment, except that you need basic standard degree maths to realize that you will never beat the ANC as an individual political party. Our system in this country is a proportional electoral system, which basically means the cake is that big. And no matter if 500 people vote or 50 million people vote, it will always be worked out into 100%. So, and not a lot of people know this, because the DA wouldn't say anything about this. The first time Cape Town was won, it was won with 2 Freedom Front Plus seats in a coalition government. The first time Potchefstroom was taken back from the ANC, it was with 1 Freedom Front Plus seat. The same with the municipality of Midvaal in Gauteng, Freedom Front. Thus, your voice does make a difference. The difference now is we are in that coalition. And for that 5-year term, if they want to bring in more affirmative action, etc., we say, listen, all right, I know we do realize that you have to do this, but it's not going to be 80%.
Yeah.
All right. Now, they have a choice. You're going to do it or you're going to not. If you don't, if they're going to do what they want to do, we get out of the coalition and the ANC takes over again. They love their money way too much to do that. So, and I mean, the DA is trying to block us at the moment by going into a coalition with EFF. EFF, Julius Malema, has never done anything to this in this country which is upbuilding. They've only broken, burned, and destroyed. That's what they do. The DA wants to go into coalition because they want to avoid those little blocks called affirmative action, etc., which we are against. Because the DA, and please don't, what's happening in the DA at the moment is good. We need in this country a strong black opposition. All right, Musi Maimane, kudos to you, go for it. But stop lying to my people. I've got one guy, Leon Basson. He was a parliamentary member in Southern Africa. It was last night. Spoke to, he came on my Facebook page and he told, actually calling me a liar. What he did is he told a white woman, no, we don't stand for BEE, we don't stand for affirmative action, we don't stand for racial quotas. And I told him, at Leon, this is nonsense, here's the proof, here's all the articles and their own, I went on their own website, gave him his own policies, something that parliamentary members should know, really. And then he comes with, no, but we voted against it, and he gives me a link. I go on that link and say, but this is in 2013. The woman, he said 2 weeks ago. So this guy has been sleeping for 2 years and 3 months, which is amazing. And I mean, he blocked me. He just basically blocked me this morning because I put him into an absolute corner. I just want truth. Truth would be great. I need my people to start waking up, to start voting right. It's so important. Your voice does make a difference. That 1 point, that one vote is the difference between a municipality run by the ANC and a municipality run by a coalition. In Europe, it works absolutely brilliantly. European governments are mostly coalition governments, which is, especially in Germany. Germany has a coalition government, which isn't working very well at the moment. I know Angela Merkel is having fun at the moment. But then look at alternative for Deutschland that's coming through now. Those guys did brilliantly in all three provinces. They're definitely going to be role players in the future of Germany. And they're not far right. I know this for a fact. They are conservative guys that just fed up with the refugee crisis. Because as far as I know, the females are being raped over there by the refugees. It's more like economic refugees than war refugees, but we do watch them as well.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on a few points there with regards to how this whole thing is sort of playing out. I'm very, very intrigued by what you've said about the Freedom Front Plus, and that it is voting for self-determination. It's not voting, it's not a political thing, it is actually a freedom thing. You know, it's not, and I'm really, really behind that concept of, yes, self-determination. We don't need any government sort of corrupting us, stealing our taxes and spending on their lavish lifestyles. That's not what we want. That's not what benefits people. And that is a very important message to get out there, is that people who do decide to vote, voting for the Freedom Front Plus is self-determination, and that is what we need. Okay, you want to know? Yeah, if you want to know what we need, that is what we need. We don't need what we've got now. We certainly do need self-determination. You just look at people like Oranje, and I really have a look at how they've broken away from the educational structure to implement their own sort of self-directed learning in their high schools and stuff there. And it's, for me, an example exactly of what self-determination on a practical, on the grassroots level manifests. And
sorry, we're busy with both. I mean, the theory and physically building. Now, the problem with the theory at the moment is we in 1994 I couldn't vote back then because I was too small. Apparently, we had 500 or 700,000 votes, and people blame us for not doing anything then towards self-determination. But the fact of it is, when we go overseas and we say, listen, we want self-determination. At the moment, we've been growing since the 1994 election. Every single election, we had 164,000 votes now, which is 4 parliamentary members in parliament. Those 4 guys do more work in 1 year than the ANC and DA together. I can absolutely promise you that. Now we go overseas, we go to the UN, we say we want self-determination. Now the UN says, how large is your population? We say 4 million. And 126,000 voted for self-determination. Obviously, you're not your population isn't interested in this. So no, we're not going to help you regarding this. You need at least one-fourth of your entire population before the UN says, okay, we will have a look at this. Understand? So it's not going to help this and that. I wasn't born with any of the problems that I didn't vote yes or no. I don't care who voted yes or no. We have problems right now which need to be solved right now. I really don't give a hoot who was to blame for what. Even guys, I mean, there's this one guy, Nicky van der Berg. Nicky, he had his own show on RSG, Radio Sonder Grense. Absolutely liberal. This guy is against Afrikaans, etc. Even he, at the end of the day, he was a member of Parliament for the Democratic Alliance. He went over to the Freedom Front Plus saying, you know what, these guys really are the only solution to the problem. We're the only people that bring solutions to the table. And Nikki left afterwards. He didn't make it to Parliament after the election, but that's fine. If a guy, but also then our people blame us because Nikki has come to the party. I mean, really, we should be rejoicing. I mean, I don't like bringing. Maybe we should. People say stop talking about your beliefs, your Christian beliefs, and politics. There's the two things we don't speak about in this country. It's taboo. Maybe it's time to start talking about it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I remember there's one story in the Bible where the one child was with the father and the other one left. And when the child that left came back, there was a big party thrown by his father because his son came back. And the other one was jealous because how can you throw a party for this one that came back? I mean, at the moment, we have Democratic Alliance members, not even parliamentary members, council members, and thousands upon thousands of supporters signing up with us right now. We actually had to go and get more staff. We've got more staff just to answer the phones and write down. Yes, sir, your papers are on its way. The DA is going to get a big surprise, but you still have those guys that has this idea that, no, we are voting for a party that can win. They can't win. That's the point. The proportional system doesn't allow them to win. They will never win. The only way the ANC will ever be conquered, and I mean conquered, is via coalition politics and a coalition government. And even then, Dr. Corné Mulder wrote a brilliant piece in three prominent newspapers that published it, that the ANC will never give up power. They will make the place absolutely ungovernable. They will burn down. They will destroy. Because that's what they did before 94. It's exactly what they did. With a new youth, which is entitled, they haven't received a spanking in their lives. And we have to be, I can't leave. I can't leave. I've been elected. I've been chosen by so many people, which, you know, I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored that they put their trust into me. And even though I feel down at some points, I can't allow it. We have to be the positive guys, right? We have to show the way at the end of the day. And I mean, even Tom, when Tommy was here from Germany, he told me, Jean, you're going to be killed. You're going to get killed, boy. I don't know, Tommy, if I die, I die. If I die tomorrow, then I die. We'll be going on to a place where there's no pain. And you know what? Other people will pick up the scepter and it's going to start. We don't want war. That's the thing. We don't want a war. Please, there's no war. The only people that want war is the ANC and the EFF. Kill the whites, kill the Boers, revolution, that nonsense. We want to be left, we want to be in peace. We want to grow up on a farm. We want to play in a farm dam. We want to, yeah. We don't have that anymore. You can't even stay out after 6 on a farm. People being killed next to a fire while braaiing. The pictures, as I'm speaking to you, the pictures of those dockets, they just flash through my mind every time. I've seen bad stuff in my life. And I'm 30. Probably gonna handicap me for the rest of my life, most probably. But it also gives me legitimacy. It gives me the voice to be able to speak about this and say, you know what, this is bloody wrong. There's nothing right about this. And I really wish the world would, you know what, you were quick to put us under sanctions, and for something I never did, for what the young guys never did. Quickly to put us under sanctions, etc. Where's your sanctions today? Why aren't you saying this is wrong? Why aren't you saying this is reverse apartheid? Straight up reverse apartheid. We can't find jobs, man. There's guys out here, white guys at the robots begging for money. They've got a 2-liter Coke bottle filled with some soap and spraying it on your window to clean it for R2. Thank you, buddy. It's a fun place. Really, come to South Africa. You're going to have lots of fun here.
It's heartbreaking. Wow. I really do hope it can get better, because the South Africa that I once knew and loved is possibly one of the most beautiful places I've ever known. And the people, again, I keep saying it, such a rich cultural heritage, even amongst the Afrikaner Boers. And the way we are such unique characters up you mentioned it earlier, something so important, how we take even the toughest of things and we turn it around into a joke. We have such an amazing constitution and ability to work through the hard stuff. And you know what you were saying, how things are scary for the rest of your life. I think it's because you come from that group of people that have been through so much themselves and have learned how to always see the silver lining behind everything and to laugh even in the face of adversity. That's what I remember of South African people, is that unbelievable strength, which I myself, like you, carry that with me now, even though I'm not there. And I find that it is a character that even here in Europe, it's very different from the way most people are here, because they've not been through all that hardship. They've not been through all that. They've seen some of the things that you've seen, that I've seen, looked through these documents, gotten to understand the facts for what they are. And in many ways, maybe perhaps we do not deserve the suffering, but I think people like you and I, we've been put on a certain path where we've got to get this information out. We've got to talk about the truth. We've got to educate people to the facts and hopefully get them to a point where they understand that the only true solution is self-determination, that you can never truly be free whilst you are governed by corruption.
Even my Bible says, and I realize you have other listeners as well. Even my Bible says no group, no culture has a right to rule over another culture. I don't want to rule over blacks. I want to be able to live for my people. You know what? We've given this Rainbow Nation everything we've got. You don't want us, so let us go. I feel like Moses at the moment. Let my people go. Just let them go. Give us the Northern Cape. We're out of your hair. Just let us go. Take everything. Take Loftus. Take the monument. Take everything. Just let my people go. They will never let us go. They won't let us go. They'll never do it because they need us. They need our taxes. They need the excuse. There's no equality. There's no rainbow here. There's nothing.
Let me ask you one last fact on let my people go, because that's a very important point. Obviously, they say, whites not welcome here, get out, go back to Europe. But they put travel bans on those they consider to be the most racist. So
exactly.
They're trapping you there.
Exactly. But it was a direct result because we went last year in November to The Hague, as you know. So then they saw, but the United States, they're starting to listen and supporting us. So we need to stop these guys now. We need to stop them. And obviously, then people look at this whole chicken poultry thing with the Americans, which we decided we're not taking it. Now we have to take it, etc. All that is stuff from the American side to put us under pressure. There's a government under pressure, and they realize it because our government decided to side with the BRICS instead of with America and all that. They started to go with BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, Cuba, and South Africa. BRICS, the BRICS banks, the BRICS economic system, which is straight up socialist, bordering on absolute communism. Because we went that way, the Americans are putting us under pressure, and suddenly they're listening to our voice, the minorities at The Hague.
Can I just say on that I do want to give a big shout out to the massive Americans Against White Genocide group that we have on Facebook, who are a tremendous support. When I post articles and information, it gets a huge amount of likes and a huge amount of shares. They have been absolutely phenomenal in distributing this information all over social media. So yeah, a big thank you to our family and friends in America who have been supporting the genocide of whites in South Africa, or have been standing up against it and doing what you can to raise awareness. Very, very good, John. Yeah, absolutely. We're coming up to the end of the show, so I just want to say, do you have any last closing words?
Yeah, we can survive. We can do it. We can. You know what? At the end of the day, it's by the sweat of your brow. They can never take that away from you. They can never take your work away from you. If you decide, listen, I'm going to do potatoes, you do potatoes. You go sell your oranges next to the street. I will support you. If I have money, I'll go out, I'll support you. You know what? We should become like the Jews. I would rather buy my vehicle's tires from an Afrikaner guy for 800 Rand more than buy it from a BEE company for 20% less. That's what we need to start doing, looking after each other in that way. We have not only theory, we have practical solutions on the ground. You know what? If you haven't heard about Urania, go and Google Urania, go and check it out. the brilliance of Rwanda is just a simple thing, how we sorted out crime in that place. All right, there's no crime. In 3 years, I've seen in the newspaper bibliothek book stolen, front page. And then it was bibliothek book found. No, wasn't stolen. You know how they sorted it out? When you drive into Oranje, you go to the Olifantsbank and you change your rands for Ora. The Ora is not recognized in South Africa, but it's 1 rand to 1 Ora. Now, if you go and buy stuff in Oranje with Ora, you can buy anything for 7 to 15% afslag, less, straight around the counter. Now the criminal comes into the town, he says, give me your money. You know, yeah, bro, yeah, you have some Ora. No, have a good time with it. It's recognized in Germany, it's recognized in England, because we do trade with nuts, picker nuts, which we send there. So there is a form of recognition, but we make sure it's not recognized by the South African government, of course. But that's the type of practical ideas which one brings to the table. I love balance. There should always be balance. I don't say that this didn't happen. I don't say that apartheid was wrong. I don't say, you know, I recognize it. I look at it, but I say, listen, there has to be balance. It can't be my fault for the rest of my life. Really, go tell someone else about your need for attention, really. I don't have time for you. If you want to build this country, let's sit down. Let's have a talk. Let's see what we can do. The fact is, if you have $70 billion rands stolen over so many years, why aren't you blaming them? Why are you still voting for these guys? It blows my mind. I hope that Musi Maimane does what he gets it done. I hope he gets the black votes. And you know what? We need the white votes and the minority votes, because we don't want to be a 2-3% coalition government. We want to be an 8-9% coalition government. We want to force them into a system where we all have a voice. But being white and voting for the DA at this moment, you're throwing away. You're just throwing away your voice. You're plainly throwing it away into, I support black economic empowerment. I support affirmative action. Now you have guys saying, but look at how pretty Cape Town is in the Western Cape. Say, geez, man, really? Are you absolutely mad? So you're for affirmative action, for BEE, for quotas, etc. Oh, my street is so pretty. Have a good one, mate.
Yeah, that's only if you go to the waterfront. Don't forget about driving from the airport, where you drive through all of that massive squatter area in Cape Town. You know, there's beautiful parts of Cape Town, but there's huge amounts of poverty too. So, you know, it's a matter of perspective, really.
Yeah. But listen, thank you. Thank you very much for reaching out, and thank you for taking our voice even further than it stops. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this again, but I hope we do. If we can't, you know why.
You know what? We, as I said to you, the office still stands, and I say this publicly. Conscious Consumer Network is dedicated to supporting you guys. I feel absolutely honoured to know you, Jean, and we really recognize your heart and your spirit, and we share a common cause. So thank you very much for honouring us with your time and attention, and we would love to have you back at any time. So when you want to come and talk to us, you let us know. We'll make a space.
No problem. Thank you very much for everything. It's appreciated. I believe I'm speaking for more than 1 million of us saying, hey, well done, thank you.
And we love you guys too. And our hearts are with the people in Africa. So on that note, I am going to say goodnight to you all, and thank you for tuning in. Please do stay tuned. We do have Conscious Kitchen coming up in a few minutes. But for tonight, we're going to say goodnight to Jean, and thank you for blessing us with your time, and all the best for the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, Please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCM broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCM belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.